for us to understand as we're fasting in this blessed month of Ramadan. It's a character trait that we find in those, the one who opposed Adam and those who opposed Noah. And so for us to understand these traits, and remember when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala criticizes someone or tells us about something that is done wrong in the Quran, it's so that we can be warned from falling into that same behavior. And so in that regard, we know that the thing that destroyed Iblis, the thing that destroyed Iblis was in fact his arrogance, his kibr. So Iblis, we know prior to his current situation, prior to the creation of Adam alayhi salam, we know he was not cursed at that time. We know he was not someone who was sinning at that time. In fact, he was from the greatest worshipers of Allah in the early days, and such that the scholars mention he was worshiping Allah to such a degree on the earth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he should be brought to worship among the angels because his ibadah was so amazing. And he became respected even among the malaika. We can't imagine what kind of relationship do you have with Allah, what kind of worship do you have that you are called to worship among the malaika. You can't worship in the earth anymore. Imagine this, right? We can't even fathom or comprehend what that looked like. So with that being the case, what went wrong? What went wrong? It's mentioned that when Adam alayhi salam was created, before the ruh was blown into him, before the spirit was blown into him, that Iblis came and he inspected the body of Adam, and he went inside and outside and checked him out, and he wasn't impressed with what he saw. And he thought that, this new creation can't be a big deal because of the difference between the origins, that he's created from what? From fire, and Adam's created from clay. And so famously, as we all know, the angels, and Iblis was among them, were ordered to do sajda out of honor to Adam and out of worship to Allah. فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ. They all did so except for Iblis. He denied, he turned away, and he was arrogant. He was arrogant. Brothers and sisters, please listen. We are warned against arrogance in this story, not just to know that Iblis was evil, but to know from this story that someone can be a great worshiper, someone can be abid, someone can be so close to Allah, but the arrogance, if they allow it to creep into their heart, can destroy their relationship with Allah. And it can lead to someone's destruction. And we are not immune from that as Muslims. So when we see the story of Iblis, we should be taking that warning that we have to be on guard at all times. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he said, "La yadkhul jannah." He will not enter, she will not enter paradise. من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. He or she will not enter paradise. The person who has even the tiniest amount of arrogance in his or her heart will not enter Jannah. This is the hadith in Sahih Muslim from Abdullah bin Mas'ud. So a man came to the Messenger of Allah and said, "Ya Rasulullah," he said, "Inna rajul yuhib," the person he loves to have his thawb, his clothing, to be nice and beautiful and good. He likes his shoes to be nice and beautiful and good, Hasan. And the Prophet ﷺ responded, he said, "Inna Allah jameel, yuhibbul jamal." Allah is beautiful, He loves beauty. Meaning what? Arrogance isn't about what you're wearing. It's not about the Jordans on your feet or the nice clothes that you wear. That's not arrogance. He said arrogance is what? Batul al-haq, to reject the truth, and to look down upon people, and to look down upon the people. That's arrogance. And so Iblis, la'natullahi alayh, what was his mistake? Both of these things. He rejected the truth. When Allah told him to prostrate, he didn't do it. And he looked down upon Adam because of his origin. Likewise, in the story of Nuh alayhi salam, what was the downfall of his people? When they were criticizing Noah, they said, we don't see anyone following you except aradhiluna, except for the lowest people, except for the lowest parts of society. Those are the people who are following you, O Nuh. Why would we follow you? So the mala, the high class, so-called high class people, and as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, Badi al-Ra'i, they saw it based on just the look. They see Nuh alayhi salam, and the people who were inclined to his message were people who weren't considered to be high up in society. Now I ask you, brothers and sisters, how often do we look at a gathering of people, and because of the people that they're with, because maybe they're poor, maybe they're not, our professionals in the community, maybe they're from a certain background, maybe they're refugees, maybe we look at them and we say, we don't really consider them as important. They can tell us something, but they're not as important. Now, if the professionals come, if the doctors come, if the lawyers come, if the engineers come, I'll listen to them. But if the aradil come, astaghfirullah, some of us, we still have that mentality that, your profession determines, or your livelihood determines, or your income determines your status. And nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. Our status comes from what? It comes from our relationship with Allah. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Those who have the real kirama, those who have the real status with Allah, honor with Allah, are those people who have taqwa. And so what's the remedy? We'll close with this. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayah that we just mentioned speaks about our creation, Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. So He connects our purpose, He connects our reason for being different, not to have kibr, not to look down upon people, but ta'arafu. What does ta'arafu mean? What does ta'arafu mean? لِتَعَارَفُوا. What is it? To recognize. What else? To say it again? To know one another, to recognize one another, to know one another, right? The root word comes from the meaning of the animals. Some animals, when they get to know one another, you may see that they actually smell each other, right? I don't know if you've ever seen two people walking their dogs, right? And then the dogs come and they go in a circle smelling each other in a place, akramakumullah, but like they really smell, like every part, they want to know each other this way. So it's almost as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we need to know each other intimately as communities, as races, as people of different statures, whatever the case may be. We need to engage in that, and to know one another will help to remove this kibr from our hearts, or to remove that arrogance from our hearts. And again, these are easy words to say. We are, alhamdulillah, blessed to be in a masjid where it's easy also to practice if we want to practice it. You have people, mashallah, from all nations, all backgrounds, all statuses, but sometimes we corner ourselves off. And so my advice to you, brothers and sisters, this Ramadan, as we are getting closer to Allah, as we're increasing our taqwa, is to check our hearts, because one of our goals throughout this life is to prevent arrogance from entering our hearts, al-kibr, and to clean it out of our hearts if it's there. And what a more beautiful time than now to begin that process by engaging in that ta'aruf, to be with each other in iftar, in Taraweeh, in salah, not just hanging with the people that we know or that look like us or that speak our language, but making an effort to engage with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to engage with. We ask that Allah Azza wa Jalla removes arrogance from our hearts, and He keeps us humble, and that He accepts us in His rahmah in this world and the next. Jazakumullahu khairan ala husni istima'ikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.